Good evening and welcome to our Midweek Faith Lift. My name is Shannon Brun and I'm joined here with Reverend Doug Werth from
I'm
Unity.
here. That's right.
From
Yeah.
Unity of Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Today is Wednesday, July 13th,
I guess. Yeah.
2022.
Yeah. It's going so fast.
It is going fast.
Yeah.
It's going really fast.
At least for me.
Yeah. What you been up to?
Well, I did a funeral yesterday.
Okay.
For a young person, 21 years old. His name was Walter Roddy, and Walter and his sister Jessica and their mother Catherine were with us many years ago. And I can remember Walter and Jessica when they were just little kids.
And when you say with us, you mean they were members of Unity of Chattanooga?
Yeah, they were members of Unity of Chattanooga. They came regularly, and and they were in the Sunday school, so Penny was with them and did all kinds of exercises and things back there. And I can remember Walter as he was growing up, as he was starting to mature, getting older. He had quite a talent for music, and before the service, he would come in like half an hour, before the service. Maybe even a little bit earlier than that with Catherine, because Catherine would be rehearsing music. She was singing. And he'd get on our piano. He'd start playing, and then when the service was coming up, we'd say, "Walter, come on, you got to get off the piano now." And,
but he sounds like he loved music.
Oh, he did. And he was absolutely a natural at it. From all his friends and everybody else, he picked up a guitar and he could
just
go.
Play it. Right.
He could just go. And the same with a piano or a keyboard or something. He was really good at that. So it was the service was at Lane Funeral Home in Red Bank, and I talked with the people afterwards, who run and they had never seen such a large following or a large
the funeral directors you're talking about.
The place was packed.
Wow.
And they were all young people, skateboarders, musicians, things like that, and they were all quiet, very well behaved, but you could see the emotion too. So,
well, I got a chance. I wasn't at the funeral yesterday, but I got a chance to go to the memorial. Is it called the memorial?
Or
the wake? The wake on the day before.
Right.
And while I was there, it was pretty packed. And there was a lot of young people.
Right.
And they were very emotional. They weren't quiet. They were very emotional.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of emotions coming out, during the.
Yeah, I was there too, and I saw the same thing.
Yeah.
So it was. And usually, with a wake, there's a lot of people there, and then usually the funeral is just family and a few friends and things, but everybody came
to the funeral also.
Yeah. And it was a moving experience.
Well, it seems like he touched a lot of lives just based on the amount of people that showed up and the emotion that I saw.
Yeah, and what I was told and what people told me over and over and over again was that. He was a very compassionate, very kind person, but yet he was full of energy and life and just, had a lot of fun. And, he could be the life of the party, and yet he could be your best friend.
Wow.
In a quiet moment. So it was, I'm struggling to find the right word, but it was nice to see that many people come and pay their respects. So so that's what my life's been. I can still feel some of that emotion.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that you still feel some of that emotion. When we get to those, I know for me, while I was there, I started thinking about my own situation. Like, okay, like if something happens to me, how many people going to show up? If this amount of people going to show up at my situation, did I make a mark on the world? Did I touch someone's life? And
it's what we all ask.
And
as we're growing up, it's usually, especially in our teens and 20s, it's all about us, and then you get into your 40s and 50s, and it's all about, at least in my case, a lot of that was all about the material stuff, getting the big house and the right car and all of that, and then
Then when you get in your 90s, no, I'm joking.
Well, when you get into your 70s,
I'm joking.
Okay, yeah. You start thinking about that.
I don't think it's only 70-year-old. I think it's people that are very much in touch with their spirituality, with their divine nature. I think they tend to just want to know. Am I making a mark? Am I making a difference in the world? It's not so much, like you said, it's not so much about the material stuff. I mean, I think about that.
Right.
So I don't think it's a 70s thing. I think naturally it is, developmentally, yes. But spiritual people, I think, tend to think that,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important to reflect on that. Who am I? Who am I here to be? What do I want to create? What do I want to bring forth? And this culture, fortunately or unfortunately, the American culture is very materialistic.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is, buying the new car or the big house or whatever it is. And I mean, if you're a millionaire, then it's the boats and the planes and it's all the rest of the stuff. But I think
those things are nice to some extent.
They're nice,
But it shouldn't be your
you just don't want to get caught up in it.
Yeah. Because you can't take none of that stuff with you.
No, you can't.
I've been amazed at, and I mean, this sounds very basic, but it's, when I watch the most powerful people in the world on their deathbed, it really just amazes me. Like, this person was just like running the world almost. Like, you see people like Bush or Cheney hasn't passed away yet, and I don't want to wish anything.
I'm thinking of Bill Gates.
Yeah, well, he's still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people like, Bush, who's since passed away, the first Bush.
Right.
When I saw him, like, they pushed him, his aide pushed him to the window to look out he didn't know who he was, I'm like, wow, just a couple of years ago, this stuff doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day,
It doesn't. It doesn't.
So,
yeah, it's...
then you got a person like, I saw Dick Cheney a couple of weeks ago on the news, and it seemed like he barely knew.
Oh, really?
Where, I mean, he was in and out.
Right.
Based on what I saw, and I'm like, wow, it life moves that way.
It does, and
so do what you got to do now to so that you, not you, but I'm just saying me or all of us, so that we can live the best life possible. We don't want to be, living a life down the line like that where we have all these regrets. We talked about that after the wake at dinner.
Yes, we did.
We did. Yeah. So we had a good time after the wake.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice, and it's interesting.
And that's what it's all about. And that's what it's about. At the end of the day. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, after the wake when we were all together, what we're talking about here is several of us from Unity of Chattanooga were there at the wake, and we talked a little bit, and afterwards we all went out for dinner.
Yeah.
And just processed a little bit, and I think that's important. You have an emotional experience, and then you want to kind of anchor that with some friends.
And what's interesting is we didn't know we were processing, but when I look back at it, and I did look back at our conversations, we were processing.
Oh yeah, exactly. So a lot of the stuff that came up.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we talked about were reflections of our own life.
Yeah. And then also I know we hit a lot of the service message that you had on Sunday. I'm going to segue into that now.
Okay.
Be impeccable with your words. And that book is by, it's the Four Agreements.
Right. Don Miguel Ruiz.
Right, yeah.
And Don Miguel Ruiz is from the Toltec Native American tradition. And it's more of a Mexican-American genre, and it's and the Toltecs were, I guess, prosperous, and they were the forerunners, I believe, of the Aztecs. But anyways, around 600 A.D. to maybe 1000 A.D. and then the Aztecs came in. I'm not quite sure how all that history went, but anyways, he was called a Nagual, Naguel, which was their word for a wise man, a man of knowledge. You might call him a shaman today. If you're over in Hawaii, he would be a kahuna.
And he wrote this book called The Four Agreements.
Yes.
And this book is about, basically, you want to tell us a little bit about just the backdrop of the book, like what it's about?
Yeah. Basically what Don Miguel says is that back in the day, these wisdom people taught basically the truths of life and how to use those to create a better life for yourself and for others. That was and what happened is some of the people took those principles and they used them for their own aggrandizement, for selfish reasons. And so what happened is that knowledge went underground. And what he is saying in the book is it's now time to bring that knowledge back, so that people who are a little wiser can use it and use it constructively. He basically gave 4 what he calls agreements.
And you talked about the old software. And how these agreements repair that software if you're willing to do the work. And so you want to tell us what that old software is and how?
What he
and
says,
where it comes from.
Sure. Basically what he said was, when you grow up, when you're a little kid, everything that your parents say or your teachers say or your minister or whatever, the things that they say, you don't judge. You just take them in, and that's the way it is. And whether they're right or wrong or on the right path or the wrong path really doesn't make any difference, because you don't know the difference. So what you do is you believe those. And what he says is you have made an agreement, all right, to have those tenets or those beliefs as part of who you are. And so now as you're growing up and you're going on and perhaps life isn't working quite the way you want to, what you need to do is you need to make new agreements with yourself.
Take a look at the agreements that you've made. Sometimes we don't even know that we've made these agreements. We don't know that we've made the agreement. And the meditation that we talked about a couple of weeks ago can help us to figure out. I mean, just looking at our lives. If we just take a look at our lives, we can see what agreements we've made. Is
That's right. That's right. It's like looking in a mirror.
Yeah.
So, if you
want... I mean, I've been doing 200 and something pounds at one time, so I can see the agreement I made with food and where that came from. But I'm sorry.
Well, the only thing I was going to say was if you want to know what agreements you've made and what that software is, take a look at your life right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Where am I? What's going on in my life? Yeah. Because the things that I've been thinking, the things that I've been feeling, the things that I've been saying, are drawing to me
more of that. Yeah.
Whatever that is.
I think it's, I don't know if it's Esther Hicks. She said a belief is a thought you keep thinking.
Could be.
A belief is a thought you keep thinking. I mean,
that's a great. I haven't heard that before,
she said
but
that. She said it's just a thought that you keep. A belief is and whatever that is, you keep thinking it long enough, it becomes.
Oh yeah.
Becomes a belief, and then you begin to, I guess, manifest that belief.
Absolutely.
And that could be positive or negative.
Yeah.
And so what we're talking about is looking at that software and changing it.
Yes.
And so how do we change it? The first step is to...
the first step is to recognize it.
Well, let me go back a little bit, because we are a spiritual community. We are a church. Be impeccable with your words. Was Jesus impeccable with his words?
Well, if you take a look at what's in the Bible, I mean, he didn't miss. It's every one of those things is dead on. If you look at it from a higher perspective. And I don't know, as I think of his life and as I read, who he was according to the Gospels and according to, Paul's writings, I don't see him sitting around crying in his beer. I don't see him as a person who says, "Hey, Peter, come here. You know what Thomas is doing?"
Right. Yeah.
I don't see him doing any of that.
He's very intentional. He's
exactly.
here to do a job.
And he's very exact. This is the way. This is the path. This is how you create a better life for yourself, not only in this world but in the next. And that's who I see him as. I don't ever see him in parking lot conversations or, by that I mean gossip.
I understand. Yeah. So be impeccable with your word. That's the first way to correct the software.
Well, it's part of it. Okay. Because if you put a monitor on what you're saying, then there's always a reflection, and the reflection is oh, where'd that come from? Okay, what's going on inside? And for most of us, especially when you get on a spiritual path and you do some prayer and some meditation, and there's a self-awareness, a self-reflection that starts kicking in, then what happens is when you're in a particular situation, you usually have the ability, some better than others, okay, to say, okay, here's a situation. Now I could react this way, I could react this way, I could react this way, I could react this way. You have choices. And what happens, again, as you develop on the spiritual journey, is you know where each one of those is going to lead.
You, right, yeah.
And so you choose wisely.
Yeah. And I've had situations where I haven't chosen wisely. And
we all have.
I've thought about it, and I'll make a phone call. Listen, I'm sorry I said that, or I shouldn't have said that, or I go inside myself and correct that situation because I know if I don't, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
What's going to manifest? Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about this be impeccable with your words. What do we do? How do we do that? Can you talk a little bit about that real quick?
Well, yeah. The key thing is to simply, before you say anything, think of what is the highest and the best for all concerned, and then again choose those words wisely. Don't be gossiping or carrying on. Be exact. Be creative. Make sure that all your words are in the direction of what you want to create. And it's really quite simple as that. We told a bunch of stories, a bunch of personal stories, during the talk. And the reason I did that is to give just some examples, a wide variety of examples as to how you do that, and what some people do that don't create that.
Yeah. Even speaking in a negative way creates something.
Oh yeah.
All of it creates something.
Yeah.
So
I tell you, there was one story that I had put in my talk, but I deleted it. I didn't say it during the service, and the reason for it was that I wanted to end the talk on a very positive note, something that Don Miguel Ruiz said. And what he said was basically, if you're impeccable with your word, you can literally be amongst people who are in hell, and it will never.
No, you said it.
It will never affect you. I did say that.
You did say that.
But what I didn't say was there are times when the power of the spoken word can be misused. And I used the analogy of Adolf Hitler. What World War II was all created from the power of the spoken word of Adolf Hitler.
Right. Yeah.
All right. And millions were killed, countries were devastated, and he had nothing other than the power of the spoken word. And what he did is he just absolutely created and magnetized the hate and the anger.
We're in a situation like that now. These January 6th hearings, right? Where a president, former president Donald Trump, created a whole muck of we having rigged elections. Where none of that has been found to be true, but there are people that believe it and marched down to the Capitol and.
It could have been a lot uglier than it was, and I think more people could have gotten killed. Yeah. One of the things.
So positive or negative, that word is very powerful.
Yeah, and one other story that I didn't tell was just simply. I did tell a story about how I was in the business world and how. We had things going on in this manufacturing plants, and I just rephrased it. I rephrased the wording, focused on something positive, and created something positive. And I was with that company for about 10, 11 years, something like that. And I can remember I was having dinner with my boss one night after about 10 years or 11 years. And we'd had a number of adult beverages. Okay, he had a few more than me, right? And finally, he looked at me at one point in time and says, "Werth, just remember one thing: when everything's going to hell, blame as many people as you can.
Wow.
And the minute he said that, I knew that I was in the wrong company.
Wow.
And I left shortly thereafter, after a very good career. You know, I was doing very well. People were talking to me about VP positions and things like that. But when I heard that, I knew that I was in the wrong place.
That's it's very contagious.
Well, yeah. And what I was going to say with that, with those two things, with Hitler and then with that other thing was, whenever you find yourself involved with a group of people who are negative, who are blaming others, who can't be creative, get out of that situation, because sooner or later what's going to happen is some of that energy is going to get on you. So, like I say, I did put that in there because I wanted to end it on a positive note with what Don Miguel Ruiz says. But the things that I would tell people, again, if you're on a spiritual path and you're on the spiritual journey and you have a practice of meditation and self-awareness, just be careful with the words that you use and be careful with the people and the situations that you hang around in. Make sure that all of that is going in the right direction. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that message, Doug. Before we end, I want to remind our viewers that we have a Sunday service.
Yes.
Every Sunday we start at 11, but we do have a mindful movement kind of dance
at 10:30.
At 10:30.
And that's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah. But our service starts at 11 at the Red Bank Community Center. Yeah. And I'm not going to. It's at the Red Bank Community Center. Yeah. The address is. Do you remember the address? Forgot it again. Tom
Weathers Road, and it's off of Morrison Springs Road.
Yep.
And if you're running down Morrison Springs Road, all you got to do is look for Erlanger North.
Yeah.
And it's at the intersection of Erlanger North and Tom Weathers Road.
Yeah, and that's at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings. We also have our Spiritual Connection group that meets every Thursday at 6 o'clock at 301 Manufacturers Road. And that's at the Whole Foods on the mezzanine level.
Yeah, and there's great food there too. So you know, if you want to pick up a sandwich or something.
Yeah.
And last week we had a bunch of people there. We had a bunch of
man. I was.
It was great.
And it looked like we wanted to leave. It didn't look like we wanted to leave, but we finally got out of there. We had a great time.
It was good.
So if you're visiting Chattanooga, you want to know more about Unity of Chattanooga, you can come to that Spiritual Connection group and learn more about what we're doing.
Yeah, and it's a very informal thing. Yeah. You know, our Sunday service. Like most Sunday services, there's music, there's a message. It's choreographed. I guess is the right word.
But it's not formal. I mean, as far as wear, we don't really get all dressed up and stuff for that.
Most people don't.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I usually wear a golf shirt. You know, something like this. So
I like it. It's light and airy. You know? Yeah. I don't like to be too stuffy.
Yeah. You know. You don't want it to be heavy.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
You know, there's. Landis's music is always well chosen, you know, and there's a time for, social activity before and after.
So we have a great time.
Yeah.
What is the second agreement?
Don't take anything personally.
Don't take anything. Ooh. I remember when I was so sensitive back in the day.
Oh, there are some great stories coming up with that one. Yeah.
Well, Doug, I want to thank you for coming out.
Okay.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, this coming Sunday.
Yeah, and talk to your viewers later.
Take care.